When I married Claire, I believed we were building a true partnership. We didn't have much in terms of wealth, but we had each other, or at least I thought we did. I poured myself into long hours at the firm, dragging through endless projects just so we could afford a comfortable life. Claire, on the other hand, chose not to work. At first, I didn't mind. I told myself I wanted to provide for her, to give her a sense of stability. But over time, the cracks began to show. It wasn't about money. It was about intimacy, or more accurately, the absence of it. Claire slowly withdrew from me. No hugs when I got home, no goodnight kisses, no closeness at all. At first, I brushed it off as stress or exhaustion, but after nearly a year of cold distance, I realized it wasn't an accident. She was making a deliberate choice. One evening, I decided I couldn't keep silent. Sitting across from her at the dining table, my briefcase still by the door, I spoke gently. "Claire, we need to talk. I feel like you've shut me out. There's no affection anymore. What's happening?" She didn't even glance up from her phone. "Don't expect affection," she said flatly, her voice edged with irritation. Her words hit me like a blow. I stared at her, hoping she was joking, waiting for a sign that this was temporary. But her face was cold and unyielding. "Don't expect affection?" I repeated, my voice heavy with disbelief. "Claire, we're married. Affection isn't optional, it's part of what makes us a couple." Finally, she set her phone down and folded her arms. "I'm tired of you asking for things. I don't feel like it, and I don't owe you anything. Stop acting entitled." Her dismissive tone cut deeper than any fight ever could. I had been working myself to exhaustion to give her a life of ease, and now she was telling me that basic love and warmth were too much to ask. That night, I lay awake replaying her words again and again, realizing something I had ignored for too long. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership, not a one-way transaction. If she could openly tell me not to expect affection, then maybe it was time she stopped expecting the things I had always given without question. The next morning, I decided to give her an answer she wouldn't forget. Instead of rushing out the door as usual, I sat across from Claire at the breakfast table, sipping coffee slowly while she scrolled through her phone, barely acknowledging me. The silence was suffocating, but I had already made my decision. "Claire," I said evenly, "about what you told me last night." Without looking up, she muttered, "What about it?" "You said not to expect affection." "Fine. But if that's how you feel, then don't expect protection or financial support from me either." Her phone froze mid-scroll. She lifted her head slowly, narrowing her eyes. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I leaned back, keeping my tone calm. "It means I've been breaking my back working long hours to support this lifestyle. Meanwhile, you've made it perfectly clear that giving back, even in the simplest, most natural way, isn't part of the deal anymore. If affection isn't included, then neither is money." Her face twisted in disbelief. "You're threatening me? You think you can just cut me off because I don't want to play housewife for you?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Housewife? Claire, you don't cook, you don't clean, you don't work. What exactly do you do? The one thing I've ever asked for is love and affection, something free, something natural, and you've told me that's too much. So yes, if that's the case, don't expect me to keep being the provider while you give nothing in return." Her jaw dropped. For once, she didn't have a comeback. Panic flickered in her eyes as the reality sank in. She had grown so used to me bending over backward for her comfort that the idea of me pulling away was unthinkable. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "Try me," I said simply, standing and grabbing my briefcase. "I'm done financing a one-sided marriage." Her phone slipped from her hand and clattered onto the table. For the first time in a long time, I saw fear in her eyes, not fear of losing me, but fear of losing the comfortable lifestyle she had come to rely on. As I walked out the door, her voice followed me, shaking, desperate, unlike anything I had heard from her before. "Wait. You can't just walk away like this." But I didn't turn back. For the first time, I felt like I finally had the upper hand. That evening, when I returned from work, the house wasn't filled with its usual dead silence. Claire was pacing in the living room. Mascara streaked around her eyes, her hair tied in a messy knot. She looked like she hadn't moved all day. The moment she saw me, She rushed forward. Listen, I didn't mean it like that, she said, her voice trembling. I was tired. I was upset. Of course I care about you. I set my keys on the table and stared at her. Care about me, Claire? For months you've shown nothing but indifference. The moment I threatened to cut off money, suddenly you've found your feelings? Her lips quivered. It's not like that. I was overwhelmed. You don't know how hard it is to keep everything together. I almost laughed. Keep what together? You don't work. You don't contribute. I do everything. The only thing I ever asked from you was love, and even that you couldn't give. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. Please don't do this. Don't take away the money. What will people think if I have to move back in with my parents? I'll be humiliated. And there it was, the truth. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was terrified of losing the image, the comfort, the convenience. Something inside me hardened. Claire, do you hear yourself? You're more worried about what people will think than about our marriage. That tells me everything I need to know. Her head snapped up, desperation flashing in her eyes. No, I can change. I'll be better. I'll show you affection. I'll make more effort. Just don't leave me. Don't cut me off. For years, I had dreamed of hearing those words. But now, standing before her broken promises, they rang hollow. Too late, I said coldly. I don't want your affection because you're scared of losing money. I want it because you love me. But clearly, that was never the case. Tears streamed down her face as she reached out. But I stepped back. I warned you, Claire. Actions have consequences. You told me not to expect affection. So don't expect protection or money. I meant every word. Her sobs filled the room as I turned and walked upstairs. For the first time in years, I felt free instead of defeated. She had tried to use my love as leverage, but in the end, it was her mask that shattered. And her reaction, her panic, was priceless. Not because I took pleasure in her pain, but because the truth was finally clear. She had never valued me, only what I provided. And now, she was about to lose it all.